What are you? Where are you from? Are you even really black? How did you learn to speak Spanish? Wait, so both of your parents are black? These are all common questions we hear as Afro-Latinas. I'm sure you've seen the think pieces and Twitter threads all debating the same questions, but people seem just not to get it. So, what does it really mean to be Afro-Latino?
Hola, hello, que sopa, what's popping? Welcome to the very first episode of Afrolutelyella, a podcast where we discuss all things Black and all things Latina. This week we'll be introducing ourselves to you and discussing the complexity that is to be Afro-Latina. My name is Milana Moore, and I am joined by my lovely co-hosts, Rizzo and Mel. Our first segment is usually the Afro-Latino of the week, but since this is our first episode, this will give us a chance to further introduce ourselves before getting into the rest of the show. So, ladies, are you ready?
Of course.
Mel, would you like to go first?
I would love it. Okay, so my name is Mel, and I was born in Panama, and I currently live in Panama, though I did live in the States for a while. Now, on my dad's side, my grandfather, he is from Ecuador, and my grandmother on my dad's side is from Barbados. On my mom's side, we have Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. So they're all from the islands, and they all came to Panama to build the Panama Canal. So they've been here since the canal was, in its first stages. And now I live here and I love it. I've been back here for 11 years, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Rizzo, what about you?
I am Rizzo. Jetta Snaka is my name. I was born in Brooklyn, and I currently am in Colorado. Don't judge me, y'all. It's a long story, but my parents are both from Panama. I've been there multiple times, as recently as last October. My family's from all over the place. We have like roots in Barbados as well, Jamaica, France, a whole bunch of different places, but we have a long generation of Panamanians because of the canal as well. So I feel like we're all cousins in that respect. Like me and Mel, we got to be related because we all came there for the same reason. So yeah, I'm excited to like be a part of this. So what's up, Milan?
Okay, so y'all family ain't the only family from the islands, okay? My family too. But my name is Milana Moore. I'm actually half Panamanian. My Panamanian side, like the other ladies mentioned, originated from the islands, came over there to help with the canal and the railroads, and that's how we got there. My father's side, they're quite mixy as well. We have Black American, and then we also have some Barbados and Pakistan in the mix. But I identify more with my Panamanian side because this is the side I was raised on. I am your designated history buff, I guess, and streetwear lover. So that shall be me. I have a background in music business and auto engineering and things like that. So that's us. So let's get into our next segment. Mel, I know you have some bochiche for us. So what you got?
I do. I have a lot to discuss. So I'm going to start with the good news first, right? So first and foremost, the Black Lives Matter movement and Stacey Abrams, they were both nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize of 2021, so like this year, right?
Wow,
Now,
that's dope.
I found it super interesting. If you don't know who Stacey Abrams is, she is a representative and she's also a voting rights activist. She was nominated by a Norwegian politician, and she had a huge role in getting people to be able to vote especially in the state of Georgia, which guaranteed eventually, the win for President Biden. So this lady did the most to get everybody to vote, everybody registered, how they were going to get registered, where they were going to get registered. And she campaigned all over Georgia. And she is just, I'm sure that she's making everybody proud with this. And with the Black Lives Matter movement, well, who doesn't know who they are, right? But I thought it was the most interesting thing that the person that nominated them was a Norwegian lawmaker, and he called them the largest and strongest social movement in the world today fighting racial injustice. So I wanted to know your take on that, but to me, either one of them could get it, and I would be fine with that.
For sure. I think that's huge. It's like the most prestigious prize you can win in the US, period. So it's
Yeah,
so dope. But I do think it's quite ironic that a Norwegian would have to nominate them and not somebody else.
The United States.
Right. Like they be hating so bad on the kids. Like all we want is, equal rights. We want to be, you know, like the white people, which is cool, but it had to be in Norwegian. So that means also for me that like what we're doing domestically as a people is like we're not just the butt of people's jokes, right? Because of the previous president, etc. Like they do see the good and like that people are fighting for their rights. And it just makes me feel good to know that because when I think about the US, I think it's a shit show. And I think it's like people laugh at us. Like other countries, I feel like they laugh at us, especially what's going on
yeah,
with the pandemic. So the fact that they saw that as like the biggest social justice movement and like so important enough to nominate for the Nobel Peace Prize is like shout out to the US. Only this time I'm never gonna say that again, but yeah.
I feel like a lot of the other countries really do see the injustices that happen here. I believe my mom told me that she was watching like international news, and some of them were like so outraged. And I do recall a lot of them were protesting with us in their respective countries because they saw how mistreated we are as a people, not only as Black people, but even how the states treats immigrants, and with the whole immigration issues and how Latinos were treated. Like a lot of the world was really looking down on us, like what is going on over there.
true,
So,
true.
so
Yeah, but I
this
do think
Peace
that
Prize just definitely shows that.
it makes like a little ripple effect onto like the world. You know what I mean? I do think that everybody's hearing the Black Lives Movement, and they're all listening in, and they all know and they're aware of what's happening. And I think it's awesome to be recognized outside of the US in that way. So I
Yeah,
think
and
it's a great thing.
to bounce off that real quick too, I do feel like it's also dope that they're taking us seriously because I feel like sometimes the US government does not take this social justice movement
True.
seriously at all. So it's cool that like at least other people see like, yo, like this is really important and we're fighting for something. We're not just in the streets chanting stuff for fun. This is like
Mhm.
some important stuff. So it's cool.
Yeah. So now let's go on to something a little more, lighthearted, or I'd hope so. At least I had a good laugh out of this. Let's talk about LeBron James versus courtside Karen. So I'm gonna
Of course.
I'm gonna give you a backtrack. If you don't really know what happened, I guess you're living under a rock because this was everywhere. But I'm still gonna give a little back information on it. So on February 1st, the referees had to stop a game that LeBron James was playing, and he plays for the Lakers, and he was playing against the Atlanta Hawks, right? They had to stop the game because somebody was heckling LeBron. Now, the way this happened was that a guy who is was rooting for the Hawks, right? He is a longtime Hawks fan, and he also has like a longtime rivalry against LeBron James. So he started screaming something at LeBron, which we don't really know exactly what it was. And LeBron responded to him. And then his wife, which is Juliana Carlos and has now been nicknamed Courtside Karen, she removed her mask and started screaming at LeBron as well, and yelling all kinds of things, curse words and everything included. And they were asked to leave the arena. They were removed from the game. Now she took it onto her IG stories and she started, explaining her side of the story. And she did mention that, her husband has this rivalry against LeBron and that she wasn't even paying attention to what was happening. But then she started, yelling at him too. And that she had gotten, kicked out of the game and that she didn't think that that was fair. But the day after this, she apologized for, her behavior, and she apologized because she said that she lost, her cool or whatever. I thought that it was, I mean, I didn't think it was funny that it happened, but I did think it was funny that people really jumped on the opportunity to call her Courtside Karen and all of the things that people said. I also thought it was super weird that we never heard from her husband, like at least publicly. Nothing from her husband was ever said. So I want to hear your take on it.
Um, first of all, her little video that she put out, she basically snitched on herself and her husband, saying that he's always had an issue with LeBron and saying that she wasn't even paying attention. So I just really think that she was probably over there fiddling with her nails or whatever the hell else, her phone. And then she just saw some big black man yelling at her husband. I don't really think she even noticed that he was heckling him first or anything. She just felt the need to jump in it, and then you want to play victim because you were thrown out because you supposedly paid for these tickets. And that's another thing I felt like kind of snitched on them, is they probably have these courtside tickets all year round, and the husband's probably there every damn game just harassing people. So I don't feel sorry for her in the least bit, and I understand why he was yelling at her. It's a whole ass pandemic, a whole ass pantalones, and you want to yell at me without a mask on.
No fags, no fags. And on top of that, if you watched her snippet, like Milan mentioned, she was talking about LeBron told me sit down, bitch. So I was like, no, you bitch, I'm gonna beat your ass. Right? So then the players are mic'd. So then it comes out later that all he said was like, all he told the husband was yelling at him. Again, we don't know what the husband said, right? But LeBron responded was, old steroid looking ass. That's it. He didn't say nothing else wild. He didn't call her a bitch. Nothing crazy. First off, so she lied. It's always to be a white woman lying on a black man. I'm sorry, not sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Second, she was wilding for no reason because that was not your fight. Who are you about to beat up? Whose ass you about to beat? Who?
Why are
At
you
an
jumping into
NBA
a man's
game?
situation?
That is
Now,
not your place.
I do have to say that if, I mean, I'm single, but like if I have a man and he is getting into it with anybody, I would be the one to scream too. Like I'm not gonna let you like just, like I'm not gonna sit there and do nothing. Like that's just not my style. I mean, I
Yeah,
understand that it's probably not the best thing to do. I get it, but it's just not me. Like, I'm not gonna just sit there and be like, oh, they'll handle it. Nah, they're not gonna handle. I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump the fuck in.
I'm gonna
However,
defend my shorty. I'm gonna defend my shorty. So I feel you.
however, I do think that regardless of the fact, I'm not gonna sit there and lie about it. And if I am removed from an arena, like I understand the reason why I would have been removed from that situation. Like, yeah, you're screaming at a player, like that's his job. He's doing his job. And you're sitting there yelling at him. Of course you're going to be kicked off. Like that makes sense. On top of that, she removed her mask. What the fuck was
Yeah,
she expecting? Like what was gonna happen at
Mm-hmm.
this point?
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I would not feel so angry about the, you gotta get kicked off part. It's more of, yeah, I yelled at him because, he was yelling at us. Like he was saying stuff to us. I'm gonna say something to him. That's
Yeah.
that's my point of view. But obviously that's not
I'm
exactly what happened. So
I was just saying, I'm still laughing at the fact that her husband has been silent this whole time. And then, like, when she issued her apology, I'm like, what did he do? Like, cut her off or something? Like,
No,
what happened?
literally, and even like deeper than that, somebody like found his freaking Instagram and he's been talking shit about LeBron like for 7 years. Like, are you that obsessed, bro, that you're gonna come and sit court? When I'm saying courtside, they were literally in the row next to the players. So you're gonna come and sit courtside to talk shit. You're gonna pay millions of dollars. He's probably paid millions by now. If this was 6 years ago to now, to get those seats. They're not cheap. I mean, he had multiple of them. To talk shit for what? Are you that pressed in your life? Are you that upset with your life that you're gonna take out all this anger on a person you don't even know? First of all, second of all, it is a little dangerous because I would defend my dude too, but at the same time, if my dude's starting shit, you better you better finish it. Number one, and number two, she's courtside and she did take her mask off, but she was also in the little clip standing up like this. Whoop de whoop, whoop whoop. Where I'm from, that means you want to fight. So are you trying to fight
exactly.
LeBron? Like, what are you trying to do? If she was like 10 rows up in the stands, okay, cool. She was literally, she had access to him. So that's like,
Yeah, they
yeah,
had to remove her.
right.
There was just no other choice. So speaking of white women doing the most, let's go to our
Per
next one,
usual.
right? The next one is we're going to address the emoji problem that Khloe Kardashian had this past week. So now
Pete.
Khloe Kardashian on Twitter, she tweeted, I think it was like 5 or 6 like face palm
It was
emojis,
like this
like
or
the girl,
something.
yeah, like the girl with the face palm thing, right? But people started to notice that it was like maybe like 5 or 6 shades darker than Khloe is supposed to be. So people just
She used the one
had,
that I use.
yeah,
It was the
me
light
too.
skinned black one. It was the light
Me
skinned black.
too. And I know that I'm still not that color, but I'm black, so I can do it, right? Khloe ain't. Khloe is not. I just want a disclaimer. I'm still black. I'm just a little lighter than that girl, but it don't matter. I can use it. So,
Right.
anyways, Khloe used it, and everybody started like having her ass on it. People were like, "Oh, Truth probably sent that," or wait, what's her name? True? It's True.
Oh,
It's not Truth.
true.
My bad. So True probably sent that, or or she, she probably like they were correcting her and putting the white one, which I thought was hilarious. Now, later on, after she posted that, I think it was like a day later, she posted a picture in her bikini, right? And she put the caption, the shade of it all. So, I mean, in a way, I kind of think that she made a joke out of it. And I don't think that it's funny because the Kardashians have always, like, they have been known for doing this multiple times where they always think that they're a little darker than they were really born. So that's really my outtake on it. Like there's not much that I can really do because I feel like everybody knows this, but like people just kind of you know keep having them do it anyway. Like they keep freaking doing it.
My I only saw it once, and I saw it because my best friend retweeted it and said like, "Hey sis, are you confirming that OJ is your father?"
Ah,
Like, and that was like the first and last time I saw it. But I was just
oh
like, "Oh
my
yeah, that's
gosh.
wild."
Oh, that's
Okay,
too much.
so Robert, the dad, Robert Kardashian, where was he from again? Is he Persian? What, he's
Armenian.
Armenian, right? So
Mhm.
my thing about the Kardashians that kills me is people don't remember that we've watched them grow up on TV, right? There's like literally 20 seasons of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. First thing, Kris Jenner is a white woman. I don't know why the world has forgotten that because she has dark hair and blah blah blah. She does whatever. She's a white one, like a Caucasian from the Caucasus Mountains. She's a white woman. First of all,
Yeah,
second of all, the dad
From
was
the Caucasus Mountains.
no, literally, she's not like anything of color. Like anything we
Yeah.
would consider a person of color, she's not that. She's white. White. So the dad, he's Armenian. White. He's Armenian, but he was also a lighter or white passing Armenian, right? He wasn't like super dark skinned, blah, 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 blah. Our whole lives, right? We saw them on TV being white. All of a sudden, they're racially ambiguous. And that shit blows me because they all have like black children now. Cool. So now they think they're allowed to be racially ambiguous. And kind of like Mel said, the fact that people are still buying all their products, retweeting them, gassing them, they have the platform to do that. But it's like, did we forget they're trying to Rachel Dolezal us when we already know that they're white? Like, I'm so confused on why they even
the
have
thing is,
like,
I feel like Kim back in the day looked very Middle Eastern before she got however many new faces. And then what's the
And she
other
got
one?
like
Courtney?
laser removed all her hair on her forehead, which is like
Oh,
a Middle Eastern stamp. Like they're usually very hairy. And she removed it, and I think she tweaked her hairline too, so it kind of she looks different
and then
now.
what's the other sister? The only one with white children?
oh,
Courtney,
yeah, Courtney.
Courtney. To me, Courtney, you could tell was like other or spicy white as
Hear
well.
you.
The only
Okay,
one
I'm
you
glad you
couldn't
said that.
tell was, yeah, like her Kim and that one, they both look spicy. But then, you know, we got the one that doesn't. And then of course Rob looks like he's straight up Armenian. Like the
Yeah,
blood
but
is
And then
strong,
the
but
Jenner one, the Kendall, the model one, she looks white too. Like
she
she
is
looks white.
white.
well, their
Bruce Jenner
fathers,
is a white
both their
man.
parents are
Yeah,
white.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's done, I think, like a couple pictures with like afros and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
she's also had her little like play in this whole like, okay, no, remember you're white.
Yeah,
And
but
Kylie
regardless
just
of
got
their
surgery to look like she's Ecuadorian or some shit. Like that's what she did. She doesn't like all
no,
her surgeries make her look.
she's on her road to being racially ambiguous too, but we forget she's like the youngest one. But I promise you in like 10 years, she's gonna be exactly what Kim K is. Like
Yeah.
the look wise, but Milan hit on a good point. They're spicy white, but they're still quiet. I don't care what nobody's talking about. She should not use the light skin black emoji. That is true. That might be Tristan's other kids. That's not you. Like that does not apply. So use the Caucasian
It's
emoji with
almost
the black hair. That's
And
it.
let's and keep it moving. That's it.
Keep it moving.
I just find it I mean, there's nothing wrong with you know, mixed race couples and children and stuff, but I do find it weird that they tried so hard to emulate black culture and then all of them went and had black kids. It's kind of like strange. It reminds me of those girls who used to tweet bread black when they would get like black donors or purposely get impregnated by black men. Like it's something like really weird. It's like you couldn't truthfully be black, so you just decided, okay, I'm gonna have me an actual black child. Like it's kind of weird to me.
That's a little creepy.
But I've never
That's I
liked them
think
anyway.
I was gonna say the only one I always thought was okay was Courtney because Scott Disick I used to watch back in the day. I don't believe in their enterprise now, but Scott Disick is one of the funniest people on TV ever in life. If y'all ever seen the Kardashians, he be going in on them. He'd be like, Kim, where are you going with that ass?
He's
You
the
thought it looks
only
fake
reason
today.
I watch it because
He be
he's
going
hilarious.
in. He is hilarious. So Courtney's the only normal one to me because she actually lived her life genuinely, not like seeking XYZ. But I understand too, like growing up in the media, and it kind of started off crazy because Kim, who was her first, before she was the Paris Hilton's assistant, I believe she was like Nick Cannon's girlfriend. It was somebody that was black. And after that, and then after her little Paris Hilton
It was
sidekick
like
phase,
Reggie Bush
and then
after that.
yes, and then Reggie Bush, she knew at that
Yeah.
point for me to be popping, I have to be with black people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and now I think it's so ingrained in her brain, like she swears she a nigga low key, she not. Like,
So
You
the
have to
next one I'm
remind her.
going into.
I feel like the internet does a good.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh,
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. No, I was just saying. I feel like the internet does a good job of reminding her that she's white. Like every time they point out that her hand doesn't match her face. That's all I was saying. But you can go ahead.
No, you're right. You're right. They do, and they have like a million pictures like that of like her hands like up to her face, and you're like, ooh.
who is that?
So the next one I got, it's lengthy, but like bear with me as I try to get all the facts right. Well, really, I don't the facts that I can get right because we have not confirmed what the hell is going on here. So the T.I. and Tiny thing. Here we go. Let me get my trusty mochinche book here. So
Yes.
all right. So back in January 26th to be exact, we learned, I mean, if you didn't know who Sabrina Peterson was, you learned who Sabrina Peterson was. So she's an old friend of T.I. and Tiny's, and she started accusing, her first accusation was that T.I. had pointed a gun to her head. I guess she had gotten into an argument with T.I. She gave the specifics, but I didn't really understand what it was. Besides, the rest of the story was way better anyways. So she had said that T.I. had, held her up at gunpoint, and she was, saying that out in the world. Then after that, Tiny responded by saying that she thought it was weird that she was saying all these things when, her son, Sabrina's sons, used to look up to T.I. and used to call him uncle, and that Sabrina, had asked T.I. to basically guide and, teach her sons, like, the ways around the world. So Tiny was like, how you calling him out when you were this close to us? Like, what are you talking about? And then Sabrina was, claimed that both Ti and Tiny would recruit women, allegedly recruit women, and have them participate in sexual activities with them. They would also drug these women. Some of them were raped, and others were even trafficked from, wherever they were at to wherever Tiny and Ti were, right? And then some girl, Shekinah Joe, which I don't know, I don't even know if I'm saying her name right. I hope I am, but
Shakana.
Shakana.
whatever. Shekinah Joe, whatever the hell her name. I don't even know who the hell this lady is. But apparently she was like a fan that became famous by like just talking. Don't make fun
They're
of me.
friends. She's their
She's
friend.
Tiny's best friend. She
I
used
don't
to
know
do
who
Tiny's
their friends
hair.
are, but good for her. I didn't know who she was. So she went on live and she started to call out Sabrina and say that Sabrina wanted, had a crush on Tiny, and that, all her problem was that Tiny was not paying attention to her, and that she had also sucked Ti's dick, and that she had been involved with Ti. So then, what's your issue about this whole thing if you've been involved? And then after that, Sabrina released her receipts, which were conversations that she had with females that were allegedly, you know, trafficked by Ti and Tiny, raped, drugged. All of these things were very specified in her conversations. But Ti started to post screenshots of the women that have, claimed to Sabrina that they had been sexually, abused by Ti and Tiny. They had also posted, on their Twitter that it was all a lie, that they just wanted to see if she would post their conversation. And she had apparently posted some of those. But I mean, now this is on Ti's page. So we don't really know what is true, what is not. It went on and on for days where, Serena would like request for them to take a polygraph test, and they released a statement saying that none of this had ever happened, that this is just all a lie. They deny all sexual accusations. But then it got really interesting because like it died down for a little bit. And then on Thursday, February 4th, Lisa Bloom got into the conversation. She was like, "Oh, I'm here now." And now Lisa Bloom is a famous lawyer. She takes very like high,
Profile.
high profile cases. And she's now saying that she's representing one of the accusers, and that she's also basically going through all of the information that Sabrina has to see if she could represent more than one accuser. And finally, February 5th was announced that the production was suspended for Ti and Tiny's Friends and Family Hustle. And they were on their fourth season. Yeah, they were on their fourth season. They have been recording since December, and everything has now stopped while this gets sorted out. And then, we'll see. So this is definitely not done. Like, we're definitely not, this is not going to be the last time that we're going to either be talking about or hearing from this, because it's not over. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that they do not believe that this is actually happening. Like they think that, all these women are just, searching for clout, or that, Sabrina's also looking after, like, just kind of ruin Ti and Tiny by, spreading this huge rumor about them, and that, it's not true. I mean, obviously we don't really know, and we won't know until everything comes out. But to me, Ti seems like a very intelligent person. I've heard him speak, and I feel like he's very, very smart. He's very, very intelligent, and he seems a little manipulative in a way. So he gives me that vibe that he's kind of manipulative. Yeah, I was saying a little bit because I was trying to like make it pretty, but he seems very manipulative, and I mean, I can't say it happened because I obviously was not there, and I'm not one of the women that was, accusing him, but I definitely do think that it seems possible. I don't know. What do you guys think?
What
ahead,
I will
Rizzo.
say is this is not the first, second, or third allegation over Ti's career that has come out. So we know like he used to sell drugs, blah, 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 but he's admitted to living a wild life previously. I think I don't have an opinion on whether it's true or not, but what I do know is Lisa Bloom is one badass bitch. And all the cases she be representing, because I be following the shit, because it's always a celebrity or a super high profile case, like, and she knows her shit. She would not have taken a case that she was gonna lose. She's not that, like, she's a celebrity attorney, like a, you know, important pop culture, whatever attorney, like whatever's trending, and if it's something that she can win and like make money off of and blah blah blah, she'll
Or at
do it.
least
So,
settle.
or at least settle. So if she, I thought when you said Lisa Bloom, she would be on T.I.'s attorney, but she's the accused. There got to be something that's valid that we don't know yet. There has to be something, like evidence wise. I'm not saying again it's true or false, but there has to be some kind of proof that she has, whether it's a video, whether it's a recording, whether it's him making a statement admitting something, or else she would not have taken that case. Like, period. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a question. Riz, you said that this isn't the first accusation throughout his career, so someone else has accused him of sexual assault?
Yes.
See, I never heard that, but I've always heard that he and Tiny were like swingers and they were into a lot of things, which is pretty obvious. Like if you ever watch their shows, like how sexual the both of them are. And then like, you know, like Tiny's best friend or one of her best friends is Candy, and she's very open about how sexual she is as well. Now, whether or not I believe that T.I. did it, again, I'm like what y'all saying, I really don't know. But the way he speaks about women and how misinformed he seems to come off about misogyny and all that type of stuff, even though he's supposedly very intelligent, lets me know or makes me feel like I wouldn't put it past him. Now, I really hope it's not true because I love Tiny, first of all. Always been a fan of Tiny. But like the way the accusations are coming out, they're making it seem like she's pretty much the ringleader. But
Like
then
she's
some
a
are
big part of it.
also saying that she right. And then others are saying she just might just be a victim of a narcissistic relationship, which is very believable because we see that shit. So but their family unit as a whole, before a lot of the recent stuff came out, I used to be a very big fan of. So I really just hope it's not true, but only time will tell.
Yeah, so just to clarify, I think what I know he's been accused of before, so I don't watch Real Housewives, but Candy's on Real Housewives with either Phaedra, I
Atlanta.
think. One of them girls said before that a member of En Vogue's husband, a member of Vogue,
Escape.
Escape, sorry,
The group.
Escapes, the person and husband used to pimp out little girls. That was 4 years ago that the statement was made. So the only reason I remember this is because when that started trending on Twitter in the threads and on, I think, the Shade Room or somewhere else on Instagram, they were posting receipts of old accusations of T.I. So it's not just, I don't believe it was specifically sexual assault, but it was like a kidnapping thing, a trafficking thing. Yes, it was something related to the case now. So I'm like, shit's a little sus.
See, I watched Real Housewives of Atlanta. I don't remember that, but I do remember when Phaedra put what's that girl Portia up to lying, saying that not Tiny, Candy had a sex dungeon. So now I'm just like, was
It could have been a lie.
Escape member confused? You know what I'm saying? Like, did she really mean Tiny? Because remember, Tiny was supposed to be on Real Housewives of Atlanta. T.I. shut that shit down, and then she suggested Candy do it instead.
Yep. And then they got their own show, which secured them a bigger bag, and they put their friends on. So that makes sense. But I just think it's sus. I'm sorry. Like, and like you mentioned, Milan, he's very, and both y'all, he's very book smart, but emotionally intelligent. Look at the shit he put his daughter through, the other shit he says, like and then you can tell he genuinely believes his own shit. He says it with such confidence. He says it so eloquently. He says it so quickly that he doesn't even second guess it. Like, he really believes his own shit. So again, I'm not saying it's true or false, but I know for a fact if there's a high profile attorney in the loop now and they're on the side of the victim, not of the accused, then there has to be something that's going to come out eventually to say, like, that's very suggestive that some part of that story is true. whether it was just the
Mm-hmm.
kidnapping, whether it was just the putting the gun to her head, whatever part of it, something has to be true. But we also
Exactly.
know that T.I. also got arrested for guns hella times. So that part is probably true. Like,
Yeah.
he always had guns. So I don't know, but it's
So
wild.
I guess we'll see what happens, and we're definitely going to like keep track of this because this seems super interesting to me, and I just want to find out, where's the truth, like what's happening.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
my last pop culture, my last pop culture news is it's Panama news actually.
Mm.
So yeah, so I don't know if you guys know Lisa Hernandez, but Lisa Hernandez, she used to be a Laker girl, so she used to dance for the Lakers. She's Panamanian, and she has been linked to Floyd Mayweather multiple times, like way too
Uh-oh.
many times, so many times. And I mean, she hasn't like fully admitted that there was like a relationship, but she also hasn't denied it. So we just always thought, like, we just always linked her to him, and it was fine. Like everybody kind of got over it, and she is beautiful, like beautiful.
I'm gonna Google her.
So oh, she's beautiful. So she posted a picture this week in black underwear. She looked amazing. She's 40, guys. Like when you see her, she's 40, 40-year-old, okay? And she put in the caption, maybe I'm replaceable, but never repeatable, and that's the difference. And
Hmm.
Floyd Mayweather took it upon himself to comment under that picture the following. All that
Mm-mm.
replaceable and repeatable sounds good, but I can fuck you when I want. Tell me I'm lying.
Sir.
People went crazy under his comment. Like
Violated.
everybody in Panama was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like that's mad disrespectful towards women. Like who do you think you are talking to her like that? Um, famous people in Panama started posting their pictures with her, saying how much they support her and that this was like horrible. Like why would he even do that or even say that? That he needs to respect people. That Panama don't play that shit. Like everybody just went
Mm.
crazy. And she eventually commented on his or like replied his comment saying the following. No, baby boy, for you, I am not replaceable. That's why you can't get over me. She put a kissy face emoji and then she put keep trying, which I think was
Period.
yeah, it was very nice and calm, but it was like, um, get back in, get back into your lane, bruh. And then after that, he deleted the whole thing and he wrote
Of course.
again. He
Embarrassed.
wrote yeah, he wrote another comment saying, "I was just joking. I didn't mean no harm nor disrespect, but the damage was already done." Now, a little bit after, she posted a story on her IG and she said, that she had had a private conversation with him and that he apologized and that he meant it as a joke, but it really wasn't a funny joke. But she still appreciated all the support that all the Panamanians had given her, and that Floyd has now understood the type of jokes that are funny and are not funny, and what he should or should not post. So I just honestly, I mean, I know that she has a bit of a reputation of being very, single for a really long time and all that because she's never been married, she has no children, and she's 40 years old and she looks fucking badass. But I honestly think that there's nothing wrong with what she's been doing. And I think that, kind of like one of those, like, yeah, if she's not going to church every Sunday, then she's a hoe type of thing. Like, leave the woman alone. Let her be, let her do her thing. And if she wants to date in like, from time to time with Floyd Mayweather because he's, putting some money in that bag, fuck it. I would have done it too. Like, call me Floyd. Like, let's fucking get together. You know what I mean? But I do think that it was mad disrespectful what he did. And I think that he was put in his place. So that's really it on that. I don't know if you guys want to comment because I know that you guys know Floyd and you know what I mean, have heard of him and obviously see how he always gets in trouble for the shit that he says, and he does.
Always.
So like I know that for like the American side of people like who has been following up on Floyd, this is not really a surprise at all.
I didn't hear. Did
No,
you hear this?
I No, the only thing I heard
Not
about him
even
was that his
shocked.
daughter had the baby by
NBA young boy.
thank you, because I couldn't remember which rapper it was.
Got
And
12 kids.
and he like 21 or something, like real
Literally
young.
just 21.
But yeah, she had the baby and was talking about possibly moving back in the dad's house, because remember, the rapper was beefing with her father at one part.
Said he wanted to fight, and I'm like, why would you fight the best boxer in our time right now? Like, that's
she just as bad, because ain't no dude about to disrespect my daddy. I don't care.
That's fair, but Lisa's her name, right?
Yeah, Lisa.
I think she conducted herself very well, because I would have been like, I would have spazzed on the dude, like, don't do me. You come running back every 6 seconds. I would have started posting screenshots, all kinds of extra shit. Don't try to embarrass me. The hell? Talking about I can fuck whenever I want. That is so rude. Even if it's true, you don't got to do all that. You don't have to.
Even if it's like a personal joke between me and him, like, why would you post that shit in public? Like, why would you let everybody
on
know
my
that?
post? Disrespect.
Yeah, I think it went too far. But I'm glad that she really did the right thing, I think.
I guess it's good that he apologized too. Like Milan said, he was fucking embarrassed. He was embarrassed. So he came back and was like, oh, I was joking. Didn't mean it that way. Blah, 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 blah. Embarrassment.
No, you
but no, true. But it could have went the other way. Like guys get even madder. They're like, nah, I'm a fuck, blah, blah, blah. Like they try to extra turn up. He took the subtle route. So that's good, I guess. I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm officially going to close the
Bochinche book.
The Bochinche book has been finally put away. So
I like that.
I love the Bochinche book. It was so juicy.
So cute. Okay, so you guys ready to get into the main topic for the week?
That was a nice warm up. Absolutely.
That we are.
Yes, it was. Okay, so this week I decided that we should tackle, since it's our very first episode, the elephant in the room. And that elephant being is, what the hell is an Afro-Latino? What is it? I know y'all tired of asking the question, explaining the answer, all of that. So we're hoping to tackle and answer all your questions today. So I felt it was best to start with the definition of the term, and we'll go from there. So Afro-Latino, by definition, is pretty much a straightforward point. It's a term used to identify an Hispanic and or Latino person of African descent, i.e. Black Latinos. Basically, anybody from a Spanish-speaking country that's Black, by extension of those of African descent in the United States whose origins are Latin America, okay? And the Caribbean as well. Let's not forget that, because there are Spanish-speaking countries in the Caribbean. I could not find any information on when exactly the term was first used, but it has been long used within the anthropological community. Some say it has its ties to Pan-Africanism and other cultural movements, such as the Harlem Renaissance and the Afro-Cubanism. Did I pronounce that right, guys? My Spanish speakers. Of the 1920s and 30s. The 70s and 80s brought about the civil rights movements and the Black Power movements in the States, but it also brought about the anti-racism movements in Latin America. These periods brought about a new way in which Black people view themselves and how they wish to be called and identified by others. So what I mean is, instead of calling us Negroes and stuff like that, we wanted to be called Black or African American or, other terms, more respectable terms. Now, if you've made it this far in the podcast, I would assume that you have at least know that we exist, but may need some more context to understand the complexities of our identity. So let me get into a little more history as to why there's Black people in and from Spanish-speaking countries. So there was this thing called the slave trade. I don't know if you guys heard of it. Um, so basically, the slavery of African peoples did not just occur in the United States. In fact, the majority of the Africans taken from various countries in Africa by the Spanish and Portuguese were dropped off in what is now known as Latin America and the Caribbean. So, for context, Brazil alone received 4.8 million enslaved Africans, making that 10 times more than the United States.
Yeah.
Brazil alone. So, I would like to make it very clear that there are Black people in every Spanish speaking country, and they've helped, along with the natives and, of course, the cultures of the oppressors, to shape what we now know as the Hispanic or Latino culture. Okay. Um, it can be found in the types of foods we eat, the music and instruments that we play, and even in the tradition of carnival that many of us celebrate, along with some of the religions that were created. Um, Due to decades or even centuries of racism and colorism, a lot of the truth has been hidden, but we'll dig in deeper in the future episodes, get a little bit more detail. So, hopefully that definition of history will suffice for today, but I did want to get into the term a little bit more and ask you ladies, um, if you like the term, do you use the term? Like, what do you think about the term? All that there.
Well, I personally absolutely love the term. Like, I
Mhm.
enjoy it. I'm super proud of it. And sadly, I did not know of this term until later in life. Because I did
Mhm.
not grew up knowing that I was an Afro-Latina. I was just Black when I was in Panama, and when I was in the States, I was Black until people realized that I spoke Spanish. And then there was like something weird with it. Then it was like, okay, where do you belong? And I think that's
Mhm.
what an Afro-Latina really, like, the term really gives me, per se. Because when I was in high school, I would hang out with all the Black girls all the time. So like most of my friends were Black as soon as I got there, right? And then one day they started hearing me speak Spanish because I said something in Spanish to one of the Latino kids, and they were like, "Wait, you speak Spanish?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from Panama." And they're like, "Oh, I just thought that it was like an army, like you were an army brat." And I was like, "No, not an army brat. I was born in Panama." And they were like, "So you speak Spanish?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I speak." I thought we settled that. Yes, I speak Spanish. So it just became very weird for them to know where to place me, I guess, and for me to know where I belong. Because, because of me speaking Spanish and a lot of my culture, being from Panama, being raised in Panama, there was a lot of things that I could definitely relate to the Latino side of me, right? But I was always Black. So I've always been Black. So I could definitely, associate as, experience the world as a Black person, because when you see me, you see a light skinned Black girl. So there was
Mhm.
always that, like, I guess, problem with me fitting, and where do I fit. So I think that having the term in, or at least knowing about the term when I was in high school, would have really helped me to be like, yeah, I'm Afro-Latina, which I didn't really have. It wasn't, until like well into my 20s when I was like, oh, that's what I am. There's my space. That's my home. Now I can relate to people. I'm both things, So you never really heard a term until late in life that would like identify, that I could identify with as much, because I feel like I can't really, yeah, I identify as Black, but I also identify as Latina. So,
Mhm.
so I love it. What about you, Rizzo?
I don't love it. So I started with the same mentality you had. It's really okay. So I'm a first generation American, right? Both my parents are from Panama, regardless of where their roots are. They're both born in Panama, raised in Panama, Spanish first language, blah, blah, blah. They actually met in Atlantic City in New Jersey. Long story how they met, but they met here, had kids, Americans, right? So I grew up in Brooklyn. I promise you, I didn't even realize black and white was a thing because everybody in New York City is not like traditional American. Does that make sense? They're not like Southern Black American or a regular, like not regular, but like they're spicy white, right? There's like a lot of Jewish people, there's a lot of Russians, there's a lot of whatever. So it's like a mix of a lot of different people. So I was just belonging. I never had to explain who I was. There were kids that looked just like me, darker skin, Black people that spoke Spanish, relatable, my family, my friends, cool. My dad joined the military, moved to Colorado. I realized I was Black because in school, we had a little paper where we had to fill out our race, and I put Latino, and my teacher, which was a white woman, was like, "No, you're Black." And I was like, "Huh?" She was like, "How do you not know you're Black?" And I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "Both my parents are from Panama." So to this day, my parents don't identify with being Black because they find that synonymous with being a Black American, not like a Black person, if that makes sense. And they don't relate to Black American culture. So fast forward to now, I feel like Latinidad is anti-Black as fuck, which is why the new term Afro-Latino gives us our own thing, right? But I don't feel like we should have to have our own term to be considered Latino. Latino is not a fucking race. It is an ethnicity. If I say I'm Latino, that does not mean I'm Black, white, Asian, whatever. I am just a person from Latin America that shares similar cultures and beliefs as this group of people. That is the definition of ethnicity. So now we have all these subordinate sub points, right? We're like, cool, you're Afro-Latino. Cool. If I'm Afro-Latino, that's cool. Well, let me start calling them Caucasian Latinos then, or Cauc Latinos, because at the end of the day, like, why do we have to? No, I'm being serious. Like, it bothers me now because when to this day, I'll test the waters by being like, yeah, I'm Latina. Oh, you're Afro-Latina, huh? Clearly I'm Black. I don't have to explain that I'm Black because you can see that I'm Black. Why do I have to further explain or like be a valid Latina by only saying I'm Afro-Latina? No, like whether I speak Spanish or not, whatever, my heritage, my culture speaks for itself. So I just feel like we're making all these sub points to further marginalize people rather than fixing the actual problem, which is white supremacy. So whatever, I have a tangent on that, but do I like the term now? No, but I agree with Mel. It gave me a place to belong at one point. Like, cool, it's my squad. We Afro-Latinos. We get each other. We're Black, Latino. We have both. We have two different worlds that we kind of crash together because white Latinos cannot relate, honestly, to like the Afro-Latino experience. However, I still think Latinidad is not white. So I don't feel like I should have to say I'm Afro-Latina, but there's my tangent.
So I guess I'm a mixture of both of you guys when it comes to the term. Yeah, when I first heard the term, like you both said, it gave me a sense of belonging. Um, I grew up in like the Washington D.C. area, more specifically like Fort Washington, Maryland. And growing up, there were no other Latinos. There are now, but when growing up, there were none. Um, and if they were, I didn't find out till after we graduated and everything else because um, I've just noticed like we're like use New York for example. In New York, everyone's very loud and proud about their culture and where their family immigrated from and things like that. But to me, the further south you go, it's like hush hush, like you don't talk about it, and you're only supposed to be Black, like and what I mean by Black is African American. Like if you show any type of anything else, then they'll start accusing you of not being Black and things like that. So I did go through a phase where I guess it was a bit of an identity issue because I didn't know what to identify as. And when I realized, okay, well, my family speaks Spanish. I eat a lot of the same foods of these people, but they're not Black on the TV. And I know my skin is Black. So I went through a phase of saying I wasn't Black because I didn't understand the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality. Now I
Yes.
grew up, got a little bit educated. I know. So when I first heard that term, I was like, well, damn, this is what I've been trying to say this whole time. Like, this is what I am. But like Reid said, I don't think I should have to say that I'm Black to be considered Latina. Like Latina or Latino or Hispanic is a culture. It is not a race. So I should not have to differentiate myself from the rest of the Latinos by saying, hello, I'm Afro-Latina. Like that, I should not have to do that. But I appreciate the term as well because it gives attention or sheds light to a group of people that are normally looked over. Because as we all know, in the Latin community, there's a lot of colorism, and then
Right.
because our family came here to the United States, we have to deal with the colorism here as well. So it's like a double whammy for us. So it does help having a term to make people more aware or more understanding. So that's my kind of take on the word. But a lot of times, if people ask, what am I just say I'm Latina. I don't normally add the Afro in front of it because you can see that I'm Afro. I'm just saying.
Right.
So,
Right.
I think it really has, I mean, the and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the difference in opinion for both of us is always going to lie with where you were raised. You know what I mean?
yes.
Absolutely.
I think being raised in the States with everything that, goes on as far as Black history, and how it's very blatant, the racism, the segregation, and then all of the things that have always happened that are not as clear when you're in a Latin country. Not
Yes.
that there isn't any racism, because I would never say, like, I can't speak of other countries. I mean, I could speak of what I know historically, but I can say firmly there is racism in Panama. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lie if you think that there isn't any racism, but it's different. It's
Right.
not like racism in the States, where it's very loud and it's very in your face. Racism here is very, subtle, and it comes in little tiny pieces that you don't even realize that, you're being discriminated against, or there's, racism is happening right in front of you, but you can't really tell. So
Yeah.
I think that with that being that difference in Panama, or like the way I was raised to be very proud of my Blackness and to wear it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Mm-hmm.
I think in the States, it's like, yeah, be proud, but also know how to direct yourself, know how to behave, know how to do this in this situation, know how to do that in that situation. Whereas that was not a thing for me, like ever. That was never a conversation for me. And it wasn't until I lived in the States that I had to realize, like, just wait, I have to do, like, I have to adjust to it. So I think because of that, in here in Panama, it's like, if you're Black, you have to be very, very proud of Black. And you have to put it
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. And yeah, I'm Afro, and I'm gonna tell you I'm Afro, though you can see it in my face, you can see it in my hair, you can see it in my nostrils, but I'm gonna let you know I'm Black. Just in case you were wondering, like, I'm Black. And people call you, negrita, chombita, morenita, and you're okay with all of those. So you wear that Afro in Latina very, very proud. Like, I'm most proud of the Afro than the Latina because I live here. So everybody obviously
Mhm.
knows that I'm Latina here.
Eh,
You know what I mean? Like, that's not a big deal. Like, yeah, I'm Latina, big deal. I was born here. But I do understand how when you go to the States, then you are way more proud of the Latina part of the Afro because I'm wearing the Afro. Like, who cares? So I do see,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think that it's the difference of how you were raised and where you were raised, and obviously the circumstances around that really change your point of view of one word. Like, that's, it's crazy.
I'm so glad you
Yeah.
touched on that because I was actually going to ask you what the Afro-Latino like term and experience is in Panama, but you explained it perfectly. And it is
Yes.
way more detailed there. Like it's not just colorism, it's fellowism, it's a whole bunch of other shit that we'll get into, I'm sure, at a later date. But in the US, it's so like black or white. It's like, and like you said, we're raised to like police ourselves and do XYZ. When in Panama, it's a little the finesse is a little bit different. But even on top of that, it's like it's just so deep. I'm like, there's so many different things that go
It's
on.
so much to cover.
It's so much. And I'm like, I don't want to even go on a tangent for real, for real. But I do think it's dope that you did touch on that because it's two different worlds. And here, I think for myself, the reason I'm so proud to say I'm Latina is because I honestly, as a person, disassociate with being American because I'm not proud to be an American. I feel like it's a white and a patriotic thing, and I'm not proud to be from a place where they steal from people and discriminate against people and are racist. All this yeah, like I'm not proud of this shit. So that's why when people ask me what I am, like Lon said, I'm Latina because I'm not no fucking American. I don't give a fuck what my birth certificate says. Fuck this place. Hell nah. Like, no. No.
I agree with you. I am not quick to be like, I'm American. Like, even when I travel out of the country and they're like, where are you from? I'm like, I don't want to tell you.
Somewhere else.
Right. But I'm with you guys on that. And then even when you talked about, it's so hard not to go off on the tangent, because when you talked about Taylorwism in Latin America, the US has that too. It's just used a different name, but it's the same thing. The parallels, and that's something I really want people to understand. The parallels between colorism and racism between both cultures are very similar, and how they started are from the same source. But we're gonna get
white supremacy. White supremacy.
Them crackers is how it started.
Them crackers.
The only difference is the crackers in Latin America were seasoned a little bit more than the crackers.
They were spicy. They were spicy white.
The spicy white.
Spicy white. Okay, so let's go into something a little bit more, just to kind of delve into the topic is some more, or the elephant room some more. So Danny Lay, how do you pronounce her name? Whatever.
Yeah,
so she put out a record. Huh?
Her name.
That chick. She put out a record called Yellowbone, supposedly supposed to be bigging up light-skinned women. The record was really unneeded. Every damn song by every damn rapper is slicing a light-skinned woman. And I don't think she understands that she has a privilege as a light-skinned woman. So when you're privileged like that, making songs like that just looks real iffy. Yeah. And it sparked this conversation about whether or not she can even use the term yellowbone, or even consider herself light skinned, because she is Latina. I believe she's Dominican, no?
She is.
And then they started like pulling her cards, pulling pictures of her parents, and using their phenotypes to identify her to say whether or not she's like Afro-Latina. But the thing is, as we know, genetics do weird shit. She could have black ass grandparents. It doesn't, whatever. But with that, they started pulling Cardi B into it again. So that has been a long going conversation since the term Afro-Latina has become popularized. So yeah, do you guys think Cardi B is black? I mean, because she keeps dropping receipts. So what do you guys think?
Danny Lee, really quick. My problem with her, with that song, if I only heard a snippet of it, but she literally says she's talking about the baby, right? Which I guess they supposedly broke up. Anyways, she's talking about the baby in the song, right? Which everybody knows he has children with a dark-skinned black woman. And she says in the
beautifully dark-skinned.
Beautiful. She says in the song, he like them yellow, don't like them darker now, blah, blah, blah. She's taking shots at the baby mama. So she looks crazy. Like, you can big up yourself without trying to put other people down. And that was my main problem with her. First off. Second off, people, you know how people are on Twitter. They was dragging Shorty. They found all her old tweets talking about black people are tar babies, a whole bunch of weird shit. And which references that she's not black, right? Because if she's talking that way about black people, you can't be associated with the people you're talking about. Then later, like a year ago, she started saying she's Afro-Latina because it was trendy. So originally, she never said that, and she never claimed to be Afro-Latina. So I just think it's like a slippery slope. I do know with Cardi for sure, and I've been following Shorty for years, from stripper days before Love and Hip Hop, all that, because she's been trending on Instagram. She's always said she's black from day one. So I think my main problem with like the Latinidad of people, and then including the race, which makes it Afro-Latino, is that they pick and choose when they want to use that privilege. And I know for Cardi B, I know for sure since 5-6 years ago when she was on the scene, she's been saying she's a black woman. So I feel like if you self-identify and she do be dropping receipts of her Black family members, and I feel like she looks like a Black woman. Look at her features. Look at the definition of race is having features that make you similar to this category of people, i.e., skin color, nose shape, eyes, hair. How's she not Black? That's what we should be asking. How is she not Black? I don't know.
I mean, to me, she has the same nose as Celia Cruz, but
Yes.
they have the same exact nose.
And nobody ever
And you're not
disputes
about
that
to tell me
Celia's
that's
not
not a Black
Black.
woman. Exactly.
I think, okay. I mean, I could excuse, because I could excuse the whole, okay, you didn't identify as an Afro-Latina before because you didn't know the term. I get it, because I didn't identify as an Afro-Latina until I figured out what the term was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know it existed, so I would never call myself an Afro-Latina before. However, I always knew I was Black. So I never spoke ill of what I am. Like, it makes no sense.
You
So
just
then
sound
that
crazy.
part was a little, yeah, that part is a little suspicious. Now, I also think I don't think that it's okay for you to make a song to diss somebody and base it on your skin color or your skin tone. Like, I don't think that's okay. If you're gonna diss somebody because, you know, I'm better than you, whatever, fine. You know what I mean? If that's what you want to do, I wouldn't go for that either. But if that's what she wanted to do and she felt very confident in her, you know, whatever, in herself, now that she has him, which she doesn't anymore, because
right.
So you went through all that for nothing, but whatever. So let's say that you wanted to build yourself up because you feel like you're the shit right now. Why do you have to touch on skin tone? With, like you said, Milan, like, you already have way too many privileges. And I know this as a light-skinned woman, and I will admit there are so many privileges that you already have as a light-skinned woman. Like, there's no need for it. Like, no need. So I do think that she was wrong from the get-go. And I think that whatever people are saying about her now, she deserves, period. And then on top of that, now that she's broken up with him, like, she has announced it, like, she put it like officially single, which I think is ridiculous. Like, that's stupid, because what are you trying to say? Like, are you putting yourself out on different platters to see what lands? Like, it's ridiculous. But regardless,
I honestly think because the baby, if you recognize his pattern, because they've been going on and off for like Danny Lay and him for like a year. Every time that she breaks up with him or whatever, he goes back to the baby mama. So I think she was saying that because eventually, like on the Shade Room or wherever, people are gonna see pictures of him with his baby mama again. So she wanted to like be like, oh, I'm single, so that they know like he back with his shorty. Right. Right.
Whatever. But I mean, as far as Cardi B goes, there is no one that could even make me even doubt the Blackness in that. Like, she's an Afro-Latina from head to bottom. Like, I mean, she's just light skinned, but that doesn't mean that she's less Afro-Latina. And even if you just look at her parents, like, her dad does not look white. Mom is from the islands. So how are we doubting this is beyond me. Like, what for?
I think because people are not fully a lot of people that are saying that she's not Black are American, first of all.
Yes.
Are African American. And I think it's because they're a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are not well versed on how race and stuff works in Latin America. A lot of them live only by the rules in the States, which makes sense. That's your culture. That's all you know. And they go by like the one drop rule. But I feel like they use that rule when they want to. Because if you went by the one drop rule, then Danny Lay probably Black too, because her great, you know what I'm saying? But I think they start getting confused when language gets in the mix, because I have always been taught growing up around African Americans that Black people come in different colors, they come with different hair textures and all kinds of stuff. I know like 50 girls I went to school with, they look just like Cardi, but they were from Southern Maryland, and so they identified as African American. They're still Black. The only difference between them and Cardi is a language. That's
And
it.
more to say
I
that
think the
the Black woman
Mhm.
is the only person that can make children in every single shade.
Yep,
So if
yep.
you already know that, or like, I mean, I'm guessing that they don't, but like keeping that in mind, there's like, you can't really judge based on looking at a person whether they're Black or not, because the Black woman can make all kinds of shades.
Yeah.
It depends on who she mixes with.
And it's very common in Latin families to have your kids be every shade of the rainbow, or like, amongst your aunts and uncles or your cousins and stuff, to have a little bit of everything in your family. So you can't fault Cardi because they try to point out like, oh, Cardi's Dominican family all looks white. Well, that could be that portion of the family. You don't know who else in their family, and none of them look white. First of all, to me, they all look Latino, but um, well, Latinos in a race, but you guys know what I mean. Like they look like the stereotypical Latino. They don't look like white people, but like you still can't fault her for that because her Dominican side was probably more present in her life, but her Trinidadian side is very much Black. She shows pictures of them all the time. So you can't fault somebody which side of the family they're closer to. Because I mean, you can say the same thing about me. You're gonna say I'm not Panamanian just because my father's side is different. I spent most of my time with my mother's side. So
I just think it's tough too because we are as a people, right, educating the ignorant, like people that choose to not learn the information at this point, that choose to ignore the information at this point. I know for a fact when I was in, I don't even know what grade it was, we had the fucking chart. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. It was like blue eyes, brown eyes. If your mom and your dad are this, it was like a little fucking square chart. This is
Punnett
how the
square.
eyes mix. It's called phenotypes.
I
Yes.
remember that.
So
Punnett
the
square,
same,
yeah.
literally the same shit works with skin colors, eye colors, hair type, etc. Like I there's some people in Black families that literally come out with their babies having blue eyes. And they're still like dark skin like me, coarse hair, but they have blue eyes because of recessive traits or dominant traits, or it skipped a generation, or the combination of alleles in their family, whatever. Do we have to go back to school and go to science class at this point? Like, why do people have to overly, and that's what I hate about the internet too right now, like people have to overly explain themselves because people will go in on them all day long. Like, I feel like if I wasn't a darker skinned Black person, I would feel the struggles of everybody else. But on the other side, I'm constantly having to prove my Latinidad. Okay, speak Spanish for me. Dance, monkey dance. That's what I feel like when people tell me that. I'm like, I shouldn't have to do party tricks to prove that I'm
That
Latina. I shouldn't
happens
have
to
to
me.
show you. Yeah, it's so annoying though.
Mhm.
Like,
I am exactly like the Cardi B thing always happens to me because it's like, and my
yeah.
sister's lighter than me. Like my middle sister, she's lighter than me, and I mean she has the same skin tone as a white woman, but she's not white. Like her hair is just like mine, her nose is just like mine.
I was gonna say, y'all, you have Black features though. Race is not just skin color, it's your
But
features.
she has to keep justifying to people that she's Black, and I mean I don't do it as much, but she has to do it a lot more. I still do it. I'd still get but you like high yellow. I'm like, so?
it's just annoying because then again, like for me or everybody, every other dark skinned Latino, it's like, prove to me you're Latina. Prove it. Prove it.
Yeah.
Like,
And mind you,
why?
speaking Spanish does not make you less or more Latina than anybody.
It is a
Thank
language, and
you.
we're not even going to get into that right now, but there's so
There's
many
so much more
things
to our
with
culture.
assimilation and colonization that people lose their languages, they lose their religions, they lose their culture, they lose their food because they're trying to assimilate and be what the man wants them to be because that's the only way to survive. So we shouldn't have to overly prove ourselves, but I do feel like in the society we live in today, there are levels to shit. And I will say I fall guilty of that too with judgment, which I'm still working on, where people are like, oh, this person's Afro-Latina. I'm like, show I don't see that. But at the same time, who am I to judge, you know? So it's like, it's a really hard balance, but I don't ever ask for receipts. Like, show me your mama and daddy for what? If that's what they are, then that's what it is. Like, okay, cool. It's just so annoying.
Mhm.
It's so annoying.
Well, since we're annoyed, we can move on to the
I'm
next
like, it's so
subject.
annoying.
So annoying.
So I think we pretty much beat that topic with a bat. But so Riz, what do you have from us from Twitter? Let's get into our next segment.
Straight from social media. We're actually going to perpetuate the annoying and annoyed irritatedness with this question. But from social media, this was a question, I believe, from Facebook or Instagram that was trending over the last week or so. And it is, the literal question says, why y'all consider Latinas' anger as sexy, but Black women's as ghetto? Let's take a second to think about this. Latina is anger is sexy. Okay, like a crazy Latina. I got a girlfriend. She's crazy. She's Latina. Black woman, ooh, she ghetto. She mad. She angry. Why? I know why. White supremacy, the problem of everything. Sorry, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to
Them
it. We
crackers.
see them crackers. The white things are good, right? And the again, like I said before, the idea of Latinidad is white. It's very anti-Black. What do we see on Sábado Gigante? What do we see on on Univision? What do we see on TV? We see white passing Latinos all day. We see Sofia Vergara. We see J-Lo. We see that's what, as a median society, people see as the sexy, angry Latina. They don't see Celia Cruz. If she was throwing a fucking fit, she's a crazy Black girl. If it was Amara Negra, she's a crazy Black girl. It would never, and mind you, they're the definition of Latino, right? It would never be, that's sexy. She's spicy. She got fire. She's fierce. It's never that. I blame white supremacy, but what do y'all think?
I mean, I definitely
Um,
agree with like white supremacy has a big card to play on that one. But I also think that it has to do with not knowing what they're saying.
True. Like the
Because
language barrier.
yeah, because if I curse you out in Spanish and you don't know what the hell I'm saying, then you think it's cute. But if I curse you in English, you know exactly what the fuck I'm saying.
Do you
So it's
still feel like that's valid for a
not all
dark-skinned
the
Black
time.
woman doing
I don't,
that?
not all
Would
the
she be
time.
angry or would she be sexy?
Well, see, I mean, I don't find them, I don't really care, but I think it would still be sex. Well, I mean, it depends. It depends.
Right.
Because I feel like it would still be sexy if they don't understand what she's saying. But like, okay, I could speak about myself personally, but I guess we would also go back and circle back to I'm yellow. but you know what I mean? Like we will circle back to that. But like I the men I've dated that are African Americans, which is really my drug of choice, um, they usually find it attractive when I'm angry and I switch into Spanish because I can't really
Right.
control it. It's gonna happen. If I'm really like there's a point where I could, you know, address you in English, but then it just gets to the part where it's like forget it. Whatever comes out, that's what's gonna come out. Whether you understand it or not, that's your problem at this point. So they always find it attractive in a way. I mean, obviously, if you're having an argument, it is an argument, and I don't let it get to the point where you're patronizing me by finding it attractive. You know what I mean? This is not the attractive part. But I do think that again we would have to circle back to I'm also very light skinned, so maybe I'm not the better person to say, well, you know, in dark skin it might not be the same or it might be. I guess it
Right.
really in that, I mean, if it's not the same because she's dark skinned, then you really have to check yourself. You know what I mean? If it is the
Yeah.
same because she's dark skinned, then it is a language barrier. But you know, that's I guess that's where do you lie? You know what I mean? Where are you? Have you already checked yourself, or what is it?
mhm.
I think that's a great point, the language barrier thing for sure.
I think it's like a mixture of both. Again, I'm always in the middle, but um, white supremacy definitely plays a role because because most people view Latinas as a light skinned, straight haired woman. So anything closer to white, they deem in a more positive sense than they do something closer to Black. But I also think it also has a lot to do with the fetishization of Latina women.
Yes.
Which is
Now,
crazy.
yes, Black women are fetishized as well,
For
big
sure.
time.
For
But
sure.
that whole spicy Latina, da 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 da, is this weird fetish that white men came up with. Just like there's that weird fetish when it comes to Asian women as well. So I think when we as Latinas get mad, that's why I'm like, why do you find me upset sexy? No, it's because of the fetish. That's all it is. Like I mean, I'm not even. I don't. I'm not even that fair skinned. I mean, like to some people I am. I don't know. Personally, I don't think I am. But I've had men purposely piss me off because they thought it was sexy, and then they'll say something about me being Latina, or when someone finds out that I'm Latina, then it's, oh, can you speak Spanish and you gonna call me papi and all this stuff. Like, no, nigga, leave me alone. Like, I'm not
No,
like
nigga,
that kind
facts.
of right. Like, you're not about to fetishize my culture. That's one thing you're not finna do. Because I'm not about to do it.
I'm
And that's how I
dying.
feel. And that's how I feel when white men try to talk to me. Cause I'm like, ew, you just trying to talk to me because you think it's you think it's a notch. Like, oh, I slept with a black woman. That's like a, some exotic notch or whatever. Fuck that.
But how
You're
do
not
I
gonna
mean?
colonize my pussy.
I understand that it happens. You know what I mean? And there's not much that we can do about it now that it's happened.
Oh,
Wait. I'm still trying to work through the colonize my pussy
my
part. Wait.
pussy. That's what I was.
Let me just laugh and then I'll go on to my.
Yo,
So
Milan got jokes. Oh my gosh.
now that that has been settled, do you think that I feel like a lot of like I mean, okay, it's happened. You know what I mean? There's nothing that we can do as far as how people feel or about the angry Latina. But I do think that what is wrong is this women like making it a whole thing. Like the Sofia Vergara's like going on to act this way everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? She hasn't had a single part in English that she's played that she hasn't played the angry Latina.
Absolutely.
Not one. And I mean,
Absolutely.
it might be her fault because that's all she accepts, or maybe that's just the way, like the little box that Hollywood has already put her in, and that's all that they offer her because they don't really think that she could do any more. And this woman is incredibly bright,
Yes.
incredibly bright. She is bright
Yes.
and she's beautiful as well. You know what I mean? Which is great. I mean, good for her. But I also don't think that she goes through her day to day life being the angry Latina. Like, there's so many more things to her that we are never going to really see because all we see her play is this angry Latina role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what I
just,
mean?
yeah. It's so interesting too, because like flipping it to the Black woman is ghetto, right? I'm going back to like New York. If it's a white passing or lighter skin Latina, it's always sexy. Black girls are always ghetto. And I understand it's white supremacy, but if we really have to like dive into why that is, I think there's just multiple factors of like the Black woman is always held to a higher standard. Does that make sense? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so why, first of all, I hate using the word ghetto. I try not to use that word because it's like,
I hate it. People use it too loosely.
yeah, I'm trying to watch myself on using the word ghetto, but it's just so interesting that somebody's raw emotion can be translated into a word such as ghetto. I have the right to be angry if I'm angry sometimes. I have the right to be happy. I have the right to be sad. Does that make sense? Like, why does it have
Mm-hmm.
to be such a connotation of negativity on Black people? And again, we understand white supremacy, right? But it's just so
Mm-hmm.
fucked up. Like,
Instead
if
of
people
it
are
being viewed as a strong person or a strong personality, which is not a bad thing.
on both
We're
sides,
just not
though,
allowed
the
to show
Latina can have
anything but jovial.
yes, or complacency or submissive or whatever. Like on both sides, I feel like it should be whether it's a white Latina or a Black Latina, you're angry, and that shit's not cute, or you're angry for a reason or whatever. But like I do think now that I'm really thinking about it, Mel had a great point with the language barrier because in media, we see Latinas as always speaking Spanish, and being cussed out in another language is sexy to people, which is weird to me, but whatever. Um, it's just something that I feel like as people, we all have to perpetuate to change, because it's like fucked up. It's not of course, I would not choose to be born in any other skin than the skin I'm in, but it was not my choice to be this darker skinned Black person. And if I'm angry, it's cool. Like, let me be sexy too. Like, why I gotta be ghetto? Like,
Well, I think you're sexy when you're angry. Okay.
You're so hot.
That's how we settled that.
When I tell you vete para la verga, you're gonna be like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but
Did you see how I jumped as soon as you said it? I was like, oh, what did I do?
So that's when you were saying, I actually want to take a second for you to tell me what you used to cuss your American boyfriend out and say, because in my mind I was thinking like, chucha su madre, da, 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 da,
Yeah, it was nothing that would classify me as sexy,
right?
or
so I'm thinking about, I know how
attractive.
Panamanian women are. I know Panamanian women, they go in. I'm like, how could he see?
Well, that's the thing, though. Because he doesn't know, he finds it attractive. But I mean, in the end, I was able to vent. So I don't give a fuck.
Right, you let it out.
About it. I let it out. I said what I had to say, and I cursed your ass out from here to Sunday, and I called your mama bitch too, and you didn't even realize. So that's on you.
When you break up, it's just a transcript of all the insults that you give them. Like, this is what I was actually
Use Google Translate when I do it.
Period.
Have Siri read it off.
Literally, she said, your mother is a hoe and you are. You know, Siri's voice is monotone as fuck. That should be so funny. She said, go to hell, you Black bastard, and you smell like shit, and your farts are stinky, and I hate
and your dick is small.
And your dick is little. It is minuscule. You motherfucker.
And he's like, oh yeah, it's so sexy.
I love it, baby. Give it to me.
I'm like, okay. You say so.
Oh, that shit is funny. That shit is hilarious. But yeah, that was all from social media. We had a little banter. It was cool.
I like that. I like that segment. All right, so so Mel, it's your turn to announce a segment that we'll be bringing into newer episodes.
Yes, the listening letter. So we are going to have a listening letter, and for this episode, we don't actually have one because it's our very first episode. But we are so interested in hearing your story, especially if you're an Afro-Latino or Afro-Latina. Let me hear your experiences. Do you like the term? Do you not like the term? Do you feel like you have been pushed aside by either one of those sides? Or do you have a funny story about it where, you finally realize that you're an Afro-Latino, you're like, whoa, look at that. You know what I mean? So whatever you feel about the term and how it applies to you and what is your experience now that, we're here and we know what it is, please send it in to us at our Gmail. It's afrolatina@gmail.com. Let's say that again, afrolatina@gmail.com. So we want to hear all of it, everything in between. And hopefully next episode, we will pick yours to read out loud and to discuss and comment.
Thanks, Mel. The email is afrolutelyella@gmail.com.
Oh my God. Yes. I'm saying, do you see Afro-Latina just like right in my head?
Afro-Latina.
Afrolutelyella, which is the name of the podcast. I'm sorry. Afrolutelyella at gmail.com.
Yes, and make sure you put, if it is a letter, just put listening letter in the subject and we'll know exactly what it's for. And then you might hear your letter on the next episode. Mm-hmm. So before we close out, we have one last segment, and Denise will take care of it. So go ahead, boo-boo.
All right. We are going to do words or phrases of the week, sometimes in English, sometimes in Spanish. So we already had a little bit of preface with like some definitions of Afro-Latinidad earlier. Now we're going to be a little bit more playful and bring you into Panama culture. So our phrase of the week is que sopa. All right, say it with me. Que sopa.
Sopa.
Yeah, and it basically means like what's up, what you doing, what you on, how you feeling. Pretty much it's like a greeting in passing that you can do. It's a slang term as well.
Do
Yeah.
you know how it came about?
I don't. Why don't you tell me?
Well, que sopa really is it's inverted. It's que pasó, which means what's happening or what happened. So they inverted it because in Panama we always invert everything. That's how we think we're cool by doing that.
Right.
We now say que sopa. So then every time you see somebody and you know you're gonna start a conversation off, you just go que sopa, and then they basically tell you what's up.
That's fire. See, we're the innovators, the originators of
We are.
everything cool. I'm just saying, I'm going to toot our horn. You know, we invented reggaeton, we invent cool slang. So
Ooh,
shout out
you're
to
gonna get the
Panama
Puerto
one
Ricans
time.
mad now, girl.
And
They're gonna be blowing up our spot.
and it's the truth. So yes, que sopa is our phrase of the week. Again, it is an inverted phrase, which is like que pasó, like Mel mentioned. And yeah, straight from Panama. You're welcome.
Gracias. So guys, that was our very first episode. How do you feel?
Yay!
Yay!
Excited. That was exciting. It was fun.
Excited.
That was great.
Yes. Yes. So hopefully the listeners will join us next time. Please do. Make sure you subscribe to us on all of our platforms and like us and share. Go tell your friends about it. All that. We need to know how you feel about the show. I do want to drop some knowledge on you guys if we haven't given you enough. If you want to research more about these topics that we discuss on the show on your own, we will list some sources in our descriptions, but there is a really great documentary or docu-series by PBS called Black and Latin America. It was only one season. I believe it's 4 episodes, but they visit several different Spanish-speaking countries and they tell you the history from the time the Negroes got dropped off till present day. And it's explaining how the Black people got there and how they helped shape the culture. It takes a deeper dive into everything that we talked about in this episode today. Again, we'll have some links for you guys, some books and things like that if you choose to self-educate. Make sure that you follow us on all social media. It's the same everywhere, Afrolutelyella. And make sure you also follow our Sazon to see if there's any updates or news about what we got going on. We are also on Clubhouse, so hopefully we'll start having discussions so we can chat with you guys, but we will definitely update you. So again, follow us on social media. One last announcement to make. If you have any ideas for the podcast or you want to be a guest or any questions for us, you can also email us at that same email, afrolutelyella@gmail.com, and just put in the subject exactly what it's about. And we will get back to you or maybe read it on the show or maybe have you on the show. We'll just have to see based off of what you said. So that is it. At the end of this episode, we will be playing a little bit of a poem by an Afro-Peruvian poet. We will include the links for that as well, so you can listen to the whole thing. But we loved having you, and we hope to have you next time. Besos.
Cógelo suave.
Nos pillamos.
Negra, 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 negra. ¿Qué? ¿Y qué? Negra, sí, negra soy. Negra, negra soy. Negra, sí, negra soy. Negra, negra soy. Yo y en adelante no quiero laciar mi cabello. No quiero. Y voy a reírme de aquellos que por evitar, según ellos, que por evitarnos algún sinsabor llaman a los negros gente de color.